Little did I know he would tear open the scabs on his internal wounds to write possibly the most important book ever written on veterans and their transition from the military to civilian life. With less than 0.5% of the total population serving at any given time, there is a large gap in understanding the challenges our warrior elite face. For the 88% of America, and increasing, who have never put on a uniform, our challenges are largely out of sight and out of mind. Every time a tragedy or security situation arises somewhere in the world, America cries out for someone to do something. That someone is usually the American service member, and that something usually involves them going into harm's way and doing things few others can or will do. Yet very little thought is ever given to how we help those same service members come back home. This book shows exactly what one can, and oftentimes does, endure in an attempt to help themselves in that process. This book gives you the inside look at exactly what happens after someone does something and then has to attempt a return to normal. As you listen through this book, I beg that you not hear the words with pity for Leo. His story is certainly compelling, and at times you may be angered or saddened by the situations he has found himself in. I beg that you not hear this with pity for veterans as a whole either. Pity is not what we need. What we need is to be seen as people who are not so different than most of the rest of America, but with different experiences. Some of us went to basic training instead of freshman orientation after high school. Some of us went to an officer candidate board instead of an internship interview after college. Some of us endured combat deployments instead of semesters abroad. Certainly they are different experiences and different paths. But one demographic has to deal with the stigma of PTSD when interviewing for a job, whether they have it or not. They have to water down their resume in the hopes that the HR manager will understand it. What do we need? To be seen as equals and given a fair shake. For those who need help or rehabilitation, to be given what they were promised would be there for them. America wants us to leave the military and seamlessly assimilate back into society as if that part of our life never happened. They don't want to hear about the son who asks you if his father is dead. They don't want to hear about how you told him his daddy was fine and please be quiet, even though minutes prior you stepped over the fragments of his father's skull and the contents it once protected. They don't want to hear about how we sat in plywood boxes, sweating through our uniform for a 10-minute call with our loved ones. A 10-minute call that would conclude with an obligatory, "I love you, talk to you soon," even though we knew the latter was a potential lie. What I would ask is that you give this book to someone who doesn't know any veterans, who is consumed by their first world problems afforded to them on behalf of generation after generation of an ever-shrinking warrior class, and ask them to meet us halfway. Try to understand our background and our veteran community as much as we try to return to normal, despite all the challenges some of us face when trying to do so. Marty Skovland, Jr., CEO, Blackside Concepts. Author's Preface. I'm going to be honest with you because I feel like you deserve that. I am not an author. I am not an academic. I don't have a wall full of degrees that make me a subject matter expert in the sociology of assimilation. I have attempted to write a flowery introduction to this book several times, each version more flush with $6 words than the one before it, each one further removed from the point and increasingly pompous in its own right. That, however, is not who I am. At 20 years old, blinded by a cloud of animosity created by the falling rubble of the